There's a fire in my soul, in my soul. And every time it burns, that's when I know where to go, where to go, where I am to go. But it's hard.
Welcome to another episode of Behind the Senior Lens. I am Lori Wood Habiger, a senior portrait photographer in the Kansas City area and photographer with Center State Seniors. Today, I am talking to someone I have known for a really long time. Her name is Tricia Hayden Burns. She works in the Evansville, Indiana area, and I cannot wait to talk with her. Hey, Tricia, so good.
Hey, Lori, how are you?
It's so fun to talk with you.
You too.
So everyone, Tricia and I have known each other kind of for a really long time. We were
Very
both
long time.
on a message board many years ago where we both kind of learned photography and the business of it in a way. And this would have been maybe 15 to 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, I knew you as Hayden Burns. I didn't know your name was Tricia until many years later. That
Yes.
was your handle on the message board, and it's your business name. So is
Yes.
Hayden your maiden name?
It is my maiden name. You got that right.
Yeah.
Yes. My
Well,
husband never let me name either one of our kids Hayden, and I loved that name.
it is
And
a
so
good name.
I was like, fine, we're just going to name my business Hayden Burns Photography.
I like it. It's one thing that stood out to me when we were on the message board is I loved your name.
Oh, thank you.
So I think it's a great name.
Thank you. I liked it better than Tricia Burns Photography. That just sounded generic to me.
Yeah.
So we said, we're going to stick with Hayden. So
I know some people have like these wonderfully beautiful names that somehow just, a lot of the young women in particular, it'll be like Alexandra Elise Photography.
you're totally right.
People in my era, we don't have these poetic names.
No, not really. Not
So,
really.
yeah, my last name Habiger, like nobody knows how to say it. I don't even say it half the time.
I didn't know how to say it until you say it. So it's like, I understand. It's
I always think it sounds like I have a stuffy nose when I say my last name, but
Habiger.
Habiger. But my maiden name is Wood, which is as easy as it gets. You have been in business actually for about 2 decades, have you not?
Yes, I have.
Okay,
It
tell me
was
about it.
2004 or so. I took my daughter to I'm not going to say any names, to a studio here in my town and just hated the experience and decided, okay, I had taken classes in high school, the whole darkroom thing, like that's how old I am. Back in the day, darkroom, black and white photography. And then I took a few classes in college, but ultimately decided that nobody really cared if you had a degree in photography. They just wanted you to take good pictures. And so I went into something else. I actually have a degree in legal administration.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I actually worked for our local prosecutor's office for 10 years. So before I even started the business. So when my daughter was born, when I took her to that and I had a bad experience, I thought, well, I've got some of the skills that I could probably take some pictures of her myself. So I had a good camera. And so I just kind of did that. And then it snowballed.
That's
And
the way it does.
It does. It does. And then I photographed my first senior, and that's where I knew that my passion lied. So I said, okay, I'm going to get my business where I need it to with my seniors. And then I'm going to completely specialize in seniors because that's what I enjoyed.
So how many years in did you get that conversion to happen?
I don't remember exactly, but I know for sure it's been at least 10 years.
Okay.
So a while.
Yeah, I think you and I must have converted from families, children, babies, all that to seniors pretty much at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think the class of 2013 may have been the first class that I really hit seniors hard.
I'm trying to think. It may have been a little bit before that, but not much. Not much at all. It's just something I enjoy. They don't run away from me.
I always say they don't cry usually. I mean,
No.
the mom's crying sometimes, and you don't have to stop so they can eat.
Right.
or because
Well,
they're
sometimes
yeah.
I can get a little hangry.
I have to tell many of my kids, honey, I think you need to eat something. I think
Mhm.
I'm sensing that you're getting hungry.
And these girls, they don't want to eat because
Uh-uh.
they think they're going to get bloated and then they're going to look
Yes.
fat in their pictures. And it's like, oh my gosh, you couldn't look fat if you tried.
I know. I've had a girl or two say that. They're like, well, I didn't eat before. I'm like, honey, why didn't you eat? And like, well, I don't want a food baby. And it's like, if you're so thin that you will look like you can notice food in your stomach, then you have
Yes.
issues, right?
Yes.
Tell me about it. You're based in Evansville area.
Yes.
So
Yes.
tell me about what size of town is that? What kind of high school? Do you have just one high school? What is your market there?
We have several high schools, actually. I can normally pull from about 12 different ones. There's quite a few. I think we have about 250 to 300,000 people in our town. It's not super little, but it's not super big. I mean, it's not Indianapolis, but I don't know. I think we might be the third largest city. Don't quote me on that. I don't know for sure, but it's one of the bigger cities in Indiana for
So
sure.
you do have a pretty big market. Where do you like to do your photography? If the kids want to be in the city, what city is it that you go to?
It's always Evansville.
Okay.
I mean, we have a couple little suburbs of Evansville that have like these cute little quaint downtown areas that are like more charming, like they're just cute. They're like boutique downtowns.
Yeah.
But most of the time it's Evansville if they want a city look.
Okay. But you have an actual studio.
Yes, I have a pretty large studio. I moved into this house back in 2011. There was a pole barn that was on property that was used kind of to build and repair old VWs. So when we first looked at the house, you couldn't even walk in the barn. And so they told us, we'll have it all cleaned out. So I knew that I was going to convert that to my studio. Now it's a 40 by 60 barn, but half of it was converted over to my studio and the other half my husband used for like our mower. And we have almost 3 acres of land. So we needed a space to be able to, store those things.
Huh.
Last spring, my husband and I built a new barn because we have a camper and we wanted to be able to house that camper. And so he built that, moved all of his stuff into that side. And I now have the 40 by 60 barn all to myself.
Wow. So I saw that you do a lot of sets in your studio.
I do. I've always been that person that wants to create something that isn't so like 2-dimensional. I didn't want just a backdrop and a chair. I wanted it to be more like a room. And I wanted people to say, well, where is that? Instead of it being, so, like I said, so 2-dimensional, like just 2 things. So I like to build spaces and sets over just backdrops.
That is really neat. So what is your favorite at the moment, your favorite room?
Probably the one that looks like my home growing up. It's kind of a 1970s look with the wood paneling and like the mid-century modern looking furniture, and it really is nostalgia for me to look at it, and I love the way it photographs. I have a lamp in there. That's one thing I always try to do in my sets is, I have my photography lights, but I also want to add some other light in there, whether it's a chandelier, whether it's a lamp, whether it's hanging bulbs, something else of interest that's going to glow.
Yes. I like how you think.
Thanks.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's just been something that has developed. And I thought, I don't know, what can I add as another light?
How amazing to have this large area and you can use your creativity and vision to create these spaces for the kids to be photographed in.
It's super fun.
I want to photograph in your 70s room.
Okay, come on over. We're not too far from each other.
Maybe a 7-hour drive, something like that.
Not too far. Not too far. It's so fun. It really is. And for some reason, the kids nowadays think that's the coolest thing ever. And I'm like, this is literally what my house looked like when I was growing up. So
Well, I'm waiting for the day when 80s interiors are somehow nostalgic. Actually, I'm not because I think 80s decor and stuff was literally the worst.
I agree. I
And
agree.
just it horrifies me to think that people may think that's cool at some point.
I mean, it all kind of comes back around, but I'm really
Does,
hoping
but
that it
really,
doesn't.
80s?
In the clothing, it seems like that they have skipped through from 80s to 90s. Like there was maybe a little bit of 80s, but moved to 90s, and I'm like, oh, thank God that 80s didn't stick around very long.
Oh, and mullets have kind of come back for boys,
Oh.
but thank God not girls.
Oh, I mean, there's some girls out there, but
No,
please
not
don't.
a fan.
For sure.
Oh man. Okay, well, how many seniors in general do you tend to photograph in a year?
I'm somewhere between like 50 and 60.
Okay.
So, and I kind of like it that way. I like to be able to only have a few per week so that I can really focus on them and make it very, very custom to them.
Yeah.
I've tried to do 3 or 4 in a week and I just end up crazy and I don't have anybody working for me. So it's, I do the final ordering appointments. I do all the office work. I do all the editing. I do all the shooting, all the things. So if I do more than that, I end up crazy.
Well, everyone has their own model, but when you have an in-person sales after the shoot, apparently.
Yes, I
I
do
don't do that. So I can
really
more. Yeah, I'm all inclusive. So I can shoot more because I don't have that added work of doing the sales meetings and ordering and packaging and all that stuff. So, actually 50 to 60 for in-person sales type, that's a lot.
Well, then because you've got 50 or 60 and then that doubles because that's more appointments. So that's another thing. But I really like in-person sales just because I feel like I didn't used to always do it. But once I moved into my own space, it was kind of like, I'm going to do this. And my sales were immediately increased. So I just
you can show off all those beautiful products in your studio.
Yes, for sure. I have a huge wall that I have a bunch of things on. So yeah.
Okay, well, let's talk about your favorite gear. I love to talk about equipment.
Okay. I shoot with a Nikon, a mirrorless Z6. My favorite lens is my 84 1.4. It's definitely hardly ever comes off my camera. And so it's definitely on there most of the time. Now, if I want to do kind of a wide angle, kind of edgy look, I do have I'm trying to think, is it a 35? Probably. I think it's a 35 millimeter, 1.8. So it's just a, wider lens.
Yeah.
Or if I'm trying to get the whole background or whatever, then I'll use that lens. But I would say 80 to 90% of the time, it's my 85.
So the sets in your studio are big enough to allow you to use that 85?
For the most part, yes. Yeah. I can scoot back enough, like the way that I have them laid out, I can scoot back enough to be able to get them. There's a few that are a little tight, and I thought about adding another lens just to be able to shoot in those, but I'm kind of picky about my primes. So I don't necessarily want to do a 50, but I guess I could. It could be something that I could add.
I use a 50 in my studio because I just can't get back far enough.
Yeah.
I have to. Well, I mean, I could do an 85 for headshots, but if I want a full body even, I'm like pasted against the wall.
And there's sometimes I'm pasted against walls, but most of the time I just go back into another set. The way that it's set up, it's kind of in a square. Yeah. And I have 3 on each side.
Okay.
So that's on one side, and then the other side is it's set up similar. So it's like they're all on the outside walls.
It'd be kind of fun sometime, maybe another episode where you could take us on a tour of your studio.
Oh, yeah, I could totally do that. Really it's actually pretty clean right now because it's winter. So
that's the worst about anything is like having to clean.
Oh, and I've been trying to take pictures or thinking about taking pictures. I haven't
Yeah.
been trying to take pictures, thinking about taking them so that I can put them in like my client guide so that they can kind of see my different background options. So maybe they can plan in their head. Otherwise, I'm planning, like they're sending me pictures of their outfits, and then I'm planning like, oh, do you think you like this? Do you think you like this? So it would be nice to be able to have a place to kind of show them what I have.
Yes,
So
it would. I do in-person planning meetings in advance. I don't know if you do, but so when they come for their planning meeting, I think this year I want to have a book they can page through and say, okay, I want this and this.
yeah. If I had a book though, the only thing is like I feel like I change it so often.
Yeah.
It's like everything, I used to photograph everything in my style closet, and I added pieces so often that it's like, oh well, that's not in there, but I have this other, so it's hard to keep up with for sure.
I keep buying stuff too, and I'm like, I hope the IRS thinks that my expenses in my category are okay.
Oh, that's so true. I know. Sometimes I buy like red lipstick, let's say, because I want to have a red lip and I want to have it in there, and I'm thinking, oh, the IRS is looking at this like, why are you buying red lipstick? Like, this is definitely not a tax write-off, but it is.
It is. Yeah, I know. I'm always like, oh my God, are they going to think I need this many videos? Get audited, I guess, but I'm always worried.
It's so true, for sure.
So tell me, how do your shoots work? Do you do both in the studio and outdoors? And do kids get to have both in their shoots?
They do. I always try to include at least one outfit in the studio just because I feel like that's something that not a lot of photographers have anymore. Sure. And there's so many people who are trying to do everything on location, and I just want to give them something a little bit different. Yeah. So I always encourage them, say this outfit would look really great in this set or whatever. And most of the time, it's actually a question that I have in my questionnaire that they fill out. Are you open to having one in the studio? And almost 90% of the time, they're like, yes. And then if that 10%, they come and I say, you really don't want any in the studio? And they're like, well, no, I don't think so. And I was like, well, this will look really nice here. And then I normally can convince them. And I like to show that again, because it makes everything different for everybody. So, but yes, we'll shoot in the studio one time, and I don't consider it a location for them. If they still wanted to go 2 locations after that, that's fine. We meet at the studio. We're already there. So why count it? So
kind of go by number of outfits, maybe.
Yes. Like if they have the top amount is 4 outfits. I feel like anything over that, we're spending more time changing clothes than we are, actually shooting. So I'll say up to 4 outfits and then 2 locations. And those locations can be pretty broad. So if they say they want to go downtown, I look at downtown as one large location.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm not going to say, okay, it's only at this hotel at this time,
only on this fire escape.
Yeah. Like we drive around. I get bored with one location, if we spend too much time there. So, yeah, we always are kind of driving around, and sometimes over on the side of the road and the side of a highway,
Do your kids there really like those field pictures that we all do?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm so over it. As much as I love them and I think they're beautiful and timeless, it's just from a posing view, like they're very hard to pose, which probably.
Well, and once you've done something as a photographer so many times, it loses that spark with you.
Yes.
But I mean, that's my stock in trade, and I will never not do them. And I do love it. But yeah, sometimes I'm just like, okay, another sunset.
Yes.
Well,
one thing I have done, and I don't know if this is something that you could do, because I have almost 3 acres on my property. Every year I have it's probably a 20-foot by 40-foot area that we plow, and I plant wildflowers there.
Wow.
So I have a place right on my property that I can use, and people really love it. So, and I'm really trying to do something different every year, so it doesn't look the same.
It's
So
not possible for me. I live in a suburban area with houses right next to me, but
yeah.
we have a family farm that's 360 acres.
Oh, wow.
It has a natural pasture meadow there with some biological survey came and counted 90 different wildflower species. It's really special, but
Oh my
it's
goodness.
90 miles away and the kids just don't want to
Oh,
be there. So,
yeah.
that's a long
We
drive.
we have a family farm as well, and it's about an hour away.
Okay.
And my husband says, you can plant whatever you want down there. And I'm like, nobody wants to drive an
I
hour
don't
away.
necessarily want to be on the road for 3 hours every day
No,
just to go to a shoot anyway.
no.
So,
So I totally get that. I want to be done. Like I don't necessarily want to be that long
well,
anyway. So
and I just need time in my day for editing and all the other things that happen during a day. And
yes.
driving 3 hours
Yes.
is just not my idea of using resources right.
No, you're totally right.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, what do you got planted this year? Are you planting the same wildflowers just come up every year?
No, not always. I mean, I normally try to replow every year just because I want a good harvest of
Yeah.
flowers, I want them to look as good as they can. There's been years that I've planted zinnias. There's been years that I've just done wildflower mixes. There's been years where I've done cosmos.
Oh,
Cosmos are super pretty because they're real delicate. But this year, I'm trying to find something a little bit new
yeah.
because I feel like there's so many zinnia fields
Mhm.
that are popping up where other photographers are kind of using those. So I want something that's a little bit different. So I've started doing a little research on the native ones in my area. Maybe I just don't know where they are. So in getting those seeds and kind of planting those. So we'll see what comes up. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet.
So, Tricia, you are largely or entirely OCF, right?
Yes, almost probably 95%. Yes.
To new photographers listening, that means off-camera flash, which means that when Tricia is outdoors, she has lighting equipment that she sets up and uses to augment the natural light that's out there. So,
yes. I have an assistant actually that I take with me just about every shoot. It just depends on if it's a full senior session, I have an assistant. And she holds the light for me and carries it around and the greatest assistant. It's probably the best money that I spend. She's also good. She's been with me for so many years. She's actually my neighbor. And I've trained her, I guess, enough that she will suggest locations. She'll say, oh, wouldn't this outfit look so cute in this place? And I'll say, oh yeah, that's a great idea. I hadn't thought of that. And so it's nice to have somebody to throw ideas at. Okay, what do you think about this? Do you think that would be good? So
I usually don't work with assistants. I did have a college girl this past year that I really love, but I had her for just a small amount of shoots, and I would love to have somebody. I'm not good, Tricia, at if their necklace is not straight.
Yes.
Or maybe their sleeve is flopped up or something. Yes. I can get really focused on what I'm doing. I do not see those things. Do you?
I am totally with you. There's so many things that go through your head as a photographer, with your lighting and with the posing and with everything. Yeah. And then sometimes Jeannie, that's her name, she'll see, oh, let me fix her necklace or let me fix her shirt. Or sometimes even the mom will do it and I'll be like, oh, thank you so much, And I always feel like I should be catching those things, but sometimes it's hard. You've got so many things that you're thinking about.
That's one thing that I think people don't understand about our business is it's not just fun and games and picking up a camera and clicking.
Oh my gosh, no.
I think there's a lot of teenage to young 20 photographers who do that.
Yes.
But to those of us who, are more seasoned, really think about photography and what we're doing and creating really high caliber posing and portraits. Like there is a lot that goes in our head when we are just looking at the kid. You're looking at what is the light doing right now? Is my light set up correctly? Is this a flattering pose for them?
Yes.
Or, is there anything weird happening in the frame where is their hand really close and or something
Yeah, it looks really weird.
is not looking good, or is there a car in the background, or is there a pole like coming right out of the back of their head visually? There's
Yes.
so much, plus the settings of your camera that we are thinking about with every shot. So that's, I think, I know it's why I don't catch the necklaces that are wrong and things like that. But I feel later like, oh,
yeah, same.
what is wrong with me? I don't see
Yes.
things,
Same.
but there's just so much going through my head.
Well, and I feel like too, and this sounds funny, but I think sometimes I'm blinded by how pretty they are.
Yes.
Like they're very charming and very just pretty. And it's like no matter what you do, you're going to look pretty. So I don't always notice the necklace, or I don't always notice that their hair may be sticking out, or whatever it is, because
It's
I
like
am
they
looking at them
create
thinking
these
they're so
rose-colored glasses on us.
Yes.
Yes. It's like,
Yes.
oh, they're glowing. They look amazing.
Yes.
But
Yes.
you don't see anything wrong.
Right.
You're right. I hadn't thought about it like that, but that's true.
Well, and sometimes I'm so you're in the moment and you're getting these beautiful images, and then you get back to your computer and you're like, oh, that wasn't as pretty as I thought it was going to be, like that must have been in the moment,
Or their ruffle is all messed up and
yes, it's like, why didn't I see that?
I know.
You're just so into the moment. Yeah,
I have
right
been
there with you
in this regards by generative fill.
Oh,
I notice like if I will lasso the part of their sleeve that's kind of folded up and hit generate, it oftentimes will fix it so easy.
I just want to know where that has been my whole career.
Me
because
too.
Oh my gosh, it has made such a difference in the last couple of years. Just all of it. Like AI has been amazing.
It has. It has. I use a Voto.
Yes, me too.
Between Voto and generative fill, I bet it's shaved off hours out of.
Oh, absolutely hours.
Yeah.
Absolutely hours. Like I was never good with the clone tool. I was never good with it. So that has saved me.
I have cloned so many things, praying that it looked okay. And boy, just to think we don't really ever have to clone again is amazing.
Oh, it's so amazing.
I'd agree too. Like, oh, if only I had this like 10 years ago, I would have been even more amazing.
Yes, I agree with you.
And I would have had so much time back in my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, babe, let's look at your portraits.
Okay.
And this is my favorite part because we're showcasing what we do and what we talk about, actually have visuals for that. So I think it's really important to look at our work and have the show and tell period, because we've talked a lot about photography, but we have to have the visuals now. So this is my favorite of the ones you sent. I love them all, but this is amazing. This directional light.
Thank you.
I have a question about that in a second.
Okay.
But the girl has a gorgeous profile, and this directional light is used so expertly. And then I noticed something that you talked about. You like to get other lighting into the image.
Yes.
Besides, and you've got that with the panel lights up in the ceiling.
Yes.
So tell me, is this really natural light coming in that window, or do you have a flash over there?
Nope, it's really natural light.
It is?
It really is.
You did good.
Yes.
Is this in her school or?
It is. She actually was one of my senior models that year, and we had gone to her school, and I always ask them, I'll say, do you want to go inside? Like, I don't know, I just want some more dramatic things. They like their locker, maybe they like a certain classroom. But we were walking down this hall, and of course it's blue, which is her color for her school. And I was just loving the way the light was coming in. And I was like, will you stand right in front of this? I mean, it was very spur of the moment. Like, will you just stop a minute and let me take the shot? And then I didn't notice until later that the exit sign was back there. And I loved that aspect as well. And it just kind of,
well, she is exiting the high school when she graduates, isn't she? Yeah, you're right.
And it just worked. And I thought, oh my God, I think I'd probably do my little happy dance that I do and said, you're going to love this one. It's so pretty. And And it definitely was one of their favorites.
Oh, I love this, Tricia.
Thank you.
One thing I love is, and I'm sure you worked on this. So when you have that light source coming in the window, unless it's a door, her legs probably lacked a lot of definition in the original out of your camera, but you can see her legs. So my guess is that you worked a lot to get those legs to show up in the final product.
I think there's probably it's a hallway. And so I think there's probably a couple of windows on the left side. In fact, well, no, that may be.
There is some light back there, isn't there?
Yeah, a little bit. And I may have darkened down a little bit.
Yeah.
Not darkened down her legs just to have.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd have to go back and I would look at,
at
the raw image. But yeah, I think it's probably. There's windows definitely on the left side of the hallway. So there may be just a little bit of fill coming in there. She's probably not standing in front of two. She definitely isn't standing in front of two on each side.
Okay.
It's probably either towards me or towards the other side. I just didn't get that whole other side of the hallway.
Well, it's so pretty. And
thank you. It is one of my favorites for sure. Probably my favorite grad image of all time.
Really? Do you are the schools okay going inside? I have never asked. I always assume they're just not going to be okay with that.
Honestly, when we do these, it's normally like after school anyway, and there's so many people running in and out of the school. So I don't know that we've ever even asked. I mean, we might have to ask a janitor to open up one of the rooms, but it's never been an issue.
And each school, I think, some are more informal than others about that kind of thing.
Yes, for sure. For sure. This one, obviously, it was not a big deal. Most of the ones around here aren't a big deal.
How neat that the school is painted with these blues.
Yes. It's blue all kind of through the school. So, and most of the time schools are pretty ugly inside, but this one, actually, I think this was the first time I'd ever been in that school, and it's where my parents went. Yeah, it's an old school, and it's really pretty, and they keep it blue inside. So
very nice. Okay, we are going to move on.
Okay.
I love this so much. Are you using outdoor flash?
I am.
Okay.
I for sure am. There is obviously to the left of our camera left is where the light is. It was a pretty dark. We were losing light pretty quickly. This is another one of those I pulled over to the side of the road.
Really?
But we were driving through this to get to another location. I'm like, oh my God, look at these trees. And we pulled right over, and she's just like, I think I want to be barefoot. And I was like, okay, perfect. Let's do this. And so I just had her kind of walk up the road and look around. And
I really love the composition. You've got the rule of thirds going here. And what I just love is there's a lot of kind of movement in this. So you've got the center line that's curving in the road, and then she actually is not upright. She's got a curve going to her body.
Yes.
Then you have the very upright trees. So the whole composition of it is just beautiful, and I love images that have a dynamic feel to it. So
Thank you.
Have that here.
Yes.
Do you find it hard? I've always wondered, when you're doing off-camera flash, is she mimicking movement, or is your assistant moving the light along with her? Is she?
It's always fun to see these behind the scenes because I'll even say to Jeannie wasn't on this shoot, but I'll always say to Jeannie, can you do this? Like, is this big enough? Because sometimes we're like in this little bitty pathway, and like there's trees on one side, like if this wasn't an actual road and it was just like a trail, she's going to be walking with the light on the pole, and she's like going with them, and it's pretty entertaining. But most of the time they get it, and I'll tell them to walk slower, that type of thing. But yes, they are actually walking. And
I love the off the shoulder sweater.
Yes, I love that in the fall. That was something that came out of my style closet. She had wanted to wear this white dress, and of course it's the fall, and it's late fall, and it's cold. And I said, why don't we take this? You don't have to totally wear it, but I like the mix of textures, and, it could look like you're kind of cozy. So we just took it with us.
I find that the girls here, at least my girls, They all want to have spaghetti strap dresses, even in deep into fall.
Yep.
And they're not keen on wearing anything with sleeves. So I will take something like this. I like to hear that you're doing it too. But because it's cold, I'm cold.
It is cold.
And
Yeah.
I'm like a hot person. And so here they are in their spaghetti strap. They have goosebumps so big, and they do not want to put on a jacket because they like that sleeveless look. And so I take a little coat sometimes, but I really have to talk them into wearing it because they just want their sleeveless bare arms with spaghetti straps. So the girls are silly. It's like the boys that wear athletic shorts all winter long.
Oh my gosh, yes. Well, the thing about this is it's kind of the best of both worlds because you get that texture and you get that warmth from it. But they still have the spaghetti straps. You can still see their shoulders, and it's definitely, they definitely don't always want to wear that for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, the off the shoulder thing really does keep it to where the girls like it.
Yes, yes.
Well, it's very, very pretty. Gotta talk about this one.
Okay, so this was actually done in my pool, and this is kind of a funny story. I'm actually known for my water images. That's something that people always talk about. I want to be photographed in the water. I want to go to the lake, or I want to do this. I want to go to the waterfalls. Yeah. And this one was just something that we kind of did last minute. And I had these like silk flowers, and I didn't know this about silk flowers, but when you put them in a pool of water, they sink.
Oh.
So I had no idea. And so I was like, well, this isn't going to work. Like what can I do here? And I had a couple that weren't completely sinking. They were much, much bigger. And I think that must be why, because the water wasn't getting up in them. So I had a full blooming clematis that was on what are those called?
Trellis?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And so I went and I tore it off.
Wow.
I did. I went in and tore. You can kind of see it in the bottom left-hand corner there. And there's a few pieces along there that I kind of put. And then with the little help from AI, I was able to kind of fill in some of the other spots.
Thank goodness, right? Because you get this great idea. You're so psyched about it. You're going to have this gorgeous mermaid floating in the pool with flowers all around her. And then a practical thing, like not the silk flowers sinking, just
sunk. And I thought, what in the world am I going to do now? And I thought, I don't have any real flowers. And then I thought, wait, I've got that pretty clematis, and it like matched her dress.
Yes.
So I thought, I'm going to put this in the pool, and it floated. So who knew?
I know. I would not have guessed AI on the corners of the flowers in the corners.
Yeah, some of the flowers in the corners. I think the ones, I'm trying to remember what's real and what wasn't.
Probably the really thick, these ones down here.
Probably, yes. Yeah, because you can the one right next to it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see. Do I have? No, I don't have one. I was gonna say, do I have a mouse that I can show you? But I think you can see the clematis in between those two bright pink ones.
Yes. Yeah.
So there was some there, but I wanted this fuller look.
Yeah.
And
it's so pretty.
I didn't have any flowers that weren't sinking.
Well, is she floating on her back?
No, she's not. So I actually have stairs.
Okay.
So I have a tanning ledge. I actually built my pool with pictures in mind. Okay. So I have what they call a tanning ledge, which is just basically a flat part. It's stairs to go down. And then there's a flat part I think it's like a foot deep. It's not very deep at all. And then there's more steps that go down into the rest of the pool. So we installed that, and right behind her camera right is actually a waterfall, and I put that waterfall there. It's a very small waterfall. It's on a pool, so it's not huge.
Sure.
But there's a waterfall there. So her head is actually laying on the top step, and then her back is probably, or her like here in her shoulders is laying right on that second step. So it makes it very easy to photograph in there.
Yeah.
So I did that on
for you.
What?
How wonderful for you to have.
Oh, it's amazing. I that was one of my favorite things I've ever done.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
yourself and for your photography.
Yes, people love it because it's an option, if they don't want to lay in yucky lake water, but they want that look,
Yeah.
this can be done. So,
Yeah, I always think about that too, the creek water and stuff. It's
oh, I have a story if you want to hear it.
sure.
Oh God, it's horrible. So we found this beautiful lake. It's in the middle of a subdivision. A senior had taken me there years ago, and I had always used it. It has rocks on the side, so you can actually walk down into the water a little bit, and it was perfect for pictures. And one time, I actually got into the water. I think I sat down. I think I was waist deep, and the girl was probably about the same. I want to get
Sure.
that exact angle.
Yes.
So I got in. It's the very last part of the shoot. And we got out and we looked down on our legs and we had these tiny little red, they look like leeches.
Oh gosh.
And I think they're called bloodworms. I think that's what I found out. And they were stuck to us. So I kind of freaked out. And thank God there was like a hose and everything very nearby. And so we got them all off of us. It didn't hurt us. It was fine. But now I have to warn every one of the girls. It's like, okay, this is a beautiful lake, but it's possible that these will be attached to you if you go too far into the lake. And so I take one for the team. I'm fine with it now that I know that they're there. Sometimes you won't get into what?
That is very brave.
If they're not going to hurt me,
Ooh, I don't think
but they're really gross. And some girls are like, nope, I'm not doing that. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But other girls, I warn them and they're like, yeah, I don't care. And I'm like, okay. So we go and it's a sacrifice for pretty pictures.
So we're going to move on to another water picture. So you've got obviously some sort of wonderful waterfall near you.
Yes. So actually, this is about 2 hours and about 20 minutes away from where I am.
Whoa.
And I only take my senior models up there.
Okay.
And I just did it one year because I loved there's another photographer in that area who's a good friend of mine. And she had always taken her girls there. And I thought, I really want to do that. And she's like, well, come up here and do it. And it's really pretty. And it's at a state park. So it's not something that's hidden. You can park and go to the falls. But I took my senior models there one year, and I got such a big response from them, just from clients who were requesting me to take them there. And of course, I tell them, it's 2.5 hours away. I can't take everyone there.
Yeah.
However, I've pretty much taken every senior model team there every year since. It's just something special for the models, and it's just a cool place. It really is. And there's nothing like it very close here. So
well, it's a nice draw to be on your model team too, that you get to go shoot in this waterfall, I think.
Yes. It's beautiful.
Did you add any drops here?
I did not.
Okay.
And I almost always shoot natural light at this place for obvious reasons. I mean, there's been a few times where I've taken lights just because I want a specific look.
Sure.
Most of the time it's just easier. I definitely get soaking wet every single time. And there's a spot where you can actually walk behind the falls, and it's just, it's incredible. But this was just, they're all willing to get wet. Their hair gets wet, everything gets wet. And this was it was just coming down, and it was just a small part of it. You can see the big falls kind of behind her.
Yeah.
That's falling, but this is just on a ledge and just a little bit of water's coming off.
I love it. You did great. And it's just willing to travel 2.5 hours. Falls. I can see why.
That's not the only senior model shoot that I do that for.
Yeah.
And it's special, and the girls always want it. So
yeah,
I keep doing it.
But they grow up seeing these. So girls who know
Yes.
they're going to hire you, they see these and they can't wait for their turn in the falls. And
Yes.
you can't really take that away from them, can you?
No. And I've tried to kind of reimagine like what they wear, but they all want to do like a dress and they all want to do, sometimes it's even maxi dresses. You know, I've done it so many times. I'm like, okay, we'll do the same thing. It's
Just
fine.
keep going with, yeah.
But I have to remember that they're different. You know, they're the ones that have never done this before. So it's like, I have to remember that.
That is very important for all of us to remember. And I'm sure we all remind ourselves that even though I have photographed hundreds of sunsets, it is the moment for this particular human being.
Yes.
We've never done it. And it's just as important to them as it was the very first time that I did it with someone. And so, you know, that's what keeps me from getting bored, is just realizing that for this human being right now, this is an experience they will never forget.
Yep. And that's what I've been told about this shoot, is that it's something, it was their favorite shoot of the whole year, that, you know, the girls really bonded. And I am pretty sure that after this specific shoot, we actually swam back to the rocks.
Oh,
I didn't get to because I have equipment, but the girls jumped in the water and swam back to the rocks, because you can walk around the whole waterfall to get back to, you know, where we need to go.
Yeah.
But they were like, I'm just going to swim. And I mean, who swims in waterfalls like that?
Nobody.
Nobody. So it's something that they remember for sure.
Well, speaking of waterfalls, we are going to look at this kid. Is this the same waterfall?
It is the same. When I sent all my pictures, I was thinking, I need a guy image. Like, and I always love this too, because this was the first guy model that I ever took up there. And he's a good friend of mine's son, and he agreed to be on the model team. And I kept telling him, I'm like, this is a way to do it if you want to meet a girl. Like, you're going to be with these girls all year long. So like, maybe you can get to know one of these girls and, you know, you can have a girlfriend. But, and what's interesting is that year that we did that, my first model shoot with him, I did The Bachelor.
Oh,
that was the theme. And so he was the bachelor, and then all of the girls were the bachelorettes that were trying to win his heart. So he was a good sport for sure. But
it looks like it, because so many boys are just so uptight about the whole process that they would never ever get into a waterfall. But look how good this is.
Yeah, and this year that we went, the water was so cold.
Oh.
And I remember talking to him, and I'm saying, Matthew, that's his name. I said, Matthew, I was like, you're going to need to go to another place in your head. I was like, because you look really cold right now. And I said, you just have to fake it for like 1/200th of a second. Yes. So, and he did really good. I love the little water dripping off of his chin.
Yes. See, you're like me. There'll be tiny things in a picture that I just love.
Yes, agreed. And sometimes people don't even notice them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'll talk about it with someone, maybe the client later, and they're like, oh, I didn't even notice. And I'm thinking, but the water drop, it's amazing.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm the same way.
Yes. Okay. Now, another theme. So you do a lot of water pictures, it seems like.
Yes.
But you also do some really, really fun pictures of the type that I have never done before. And being on a carnival ride.
This is my picture spirit right here.
I have never thought of this, and probably wouldn't, because I'm a chicken. This is wonderful.
Thank you. It was just another theme for my models one year. And actually, this was the same year that the previous picture was. And I said, let's go to the fair. And we got pictures with animals. We got pictures with the rides. And I had always wanted to get on one of the rides and take the picture. And I thought the perfect one would be the Ferris wheel. Yeah. And these girls had the hats and everything. And I'm like, okay, look back at me. And, you know, this was kind of, it really wasn't posed. It was kind of spur of the moment. And But I like that
Totally.
like, where you wouldn't necessarily expect a photographer to be.
I love how they're not like all posy. They're like really getting into the whole carnival ride
Yes.
aspect of it.
Yes, for sure. For sure. It was a lot of fun. I did do something like this years ago. I got on the swings with with the girl, and
Oh,
I thought
man.
I'm going to be so focused on taking her picture and everything that it'll be fine. Like, it'll be fine. But I got really sick. So I said, I'm not doing that again. I've got to go on slower rides.
Yes.
I mean, I got good pictures of her, but I was really sick afterwards.
Well, at least you got the pictures, Tricia.
I did anything for the shot,
Yeah. Okay, we're moving on to another really fun one.
Oh gosh, this is literally one of my favorites of all time, and this was really an afterthought. So we did this whole hocus pocus shoot with these three girls at Halloween. I wanted to do a modern day hocus pocus, not something that had been done over and over again.
Yeah.
And so kind of modern day outfits. And we had gotten done with the shoot and we were driving past a Target on our way to Dairy Queen, which is like a ice cream place.
Yeah.
And because we were going to get ice cream. And so we were sitting eating our ice cream and I said, okay, hear me out. What if we went to Target? What if we decided to act like you guys are shopping? I think these girls would be the type that would go to Target. And so we walked in there and we found that shirt that says it's just a bunch of hocus pocus. And I'm like, you need to get in the cart. And like right before I took the shot, a worker walked around the corner and she says, you're going to have her get out of that cart. And I was just like, oh, we're just taking a picture. And she was like, okay. And then she figured out what we were doing. And she loved it. She watched the whole time. So it was just kind of a spur of the moment fun thing. And everyone always talks about it. So I'm like, I really have to include this. And it's big on my wall in the studio.
I think it's so you because I do see a lot of fun in your work. Not just the ones that you have here, but many things I see on your Instagram just look really fun. And
Yes.
I feel like that is you as a human. And I really felt it. Tricia and I had known each other online for years, but we had never met until last year. We went to a conference at the same conference. And I could just feel the energy from you immediately that you are so fun, so friendly, and kind of the life of the party.
Well, I think the older I get, the more introverted I get. But once you get me there, I become that extrovert that I used to be. So
it just goes to figure because your work and your personality really kind of mesh together.
Thank you. Thank you. I love my work and I love what I do. And I always say, I think that comes out in my images. Just the love that I put into it and the thought that I put into it. It never shuts up in my head. There's always a location or something that I'm driving by, or I could be on vacation and I'm driving by a location and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I should shoot there. And then I remember I'm on vacation.
Or you and your husband are driving to go to a restaurant and you're like, oh my gosh, look at the light over there. We should.
Yes, all the time.
My husband's just like, okay.
Exactly. It's just part of who we are. It makes up who we are for sure.
Another fun one. I have seen this image so many times in various places.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know where. I can't tell you, but I've seen this several times before.
Okay, so this image, this girl is a huge Taylor Swift fan. In fact, she helped me become a Swiftie. And we had talked about possibly doing something. She had 4 outfits and she kind of did something Taylor Swift related with each outfit. This outfit was actually taken after Taylor Swift's You Need to Calm Down video. It's just very outlandish if you've never seen it. She's in a trailer park. It's all just very bright colors and pink flamingos everywhere. And at one point this is pretty much exactly what she's wearing. But in one part of the video, there's a trailer that's on fire behind her. And so when I mentioned it to Shelby, I told her, I said, I think we can just probably do this in, any kind of green area. And I was like, and we have this. And I said, I'm going to try to put fire behind you somehow. And this was an image that I found and was able to kind of move it in there, put it. Now, this is something that generative fill will not do. I have tried to put in burning. I've tried to put in several terms, and it just says this is beyond our guidelines. And won't let me do it. So I had to actually Photoshop this in.
Well, you did a great job, because I think combining images like this is so hard to make it look even reasonably natural.
Yes.
And I've always thought you did such a good job with this. Back to the generative fill, I usually get it if I have a girl with any amount of cleavage, and
yes,
I'm doing any sort of generative fill on the picture, always says I'm doing something wrong. And you can send in feedback, and I'll be like, women have breasts, okay? We're going to be in the work of normal photographers. And so you cannot not allow us to use generative fill on images that have cleavage.
Yes.
We're not like asking them to put boobs in there. We're just photographing people and wanting them to fix like a collar that's not straight or something.
Yes. I feel like anytime you choose something on their skin,
yes,
and you ask it to like remove it or whatever you're going to do, it gives you an error. And it's very frustrating.
It is.
So Adobe, if you're listening,
yes,
we need you to allow us to do these things.
This is our work.
I think though, with this image, what helped is the fact that there's a tree line behind her. The sun was going down.
Okay.
And it almost looked like, in fact, I don't even think I thought of the fire until after I took the image and I was editing it, because it looked like fire almost in the sky, because the sun was going down so fast, and it was like that golden color. And I thought, what if I put fire back there? What if I did that? Because that's in the video. So you'll have to go and watch the video.
Some minor photography things that I love about this image. And again, I like opposing directions in pictures, and I find it hard to describe it, but I love that her face is going this way. This knee is pointing down this way. And I always try to get that in so many of my pictures. And I don't know how to explain it to the kids, but I want like opposing directions. So shoulders this way, head back that way. And
opposite directions maybe.
And it's just so much more interesting visually, I think, to have that sort of thing. I even like just the way the flamingo is going, because that, it's kind of looking back at her, and it creates this.
It totally is.
And she looks amazing, somehow. By the way. Those
sometimes, and I don't know if this happens to you, but sometimes like I'll take the picture and things are just so ingrained in my head from doing it for so long that I'm like, oh my gosh, look how that is this way and this is this way. And I thought, I didn't even plan that. Like it just kind of came out that way.
But sometimes,
and like what you're saying about the posing points.
Yeah.
I didn't plan that. It's just, I knew that looked good. So,
but see, it's unconsciously, you're not having to think about why it looks good and that it does. You just naturally have these elements in your images.
Yes.
So even you kind of framed her head here with what looks like a window or a door back on this burning house. So you do these things sometimes without realizing it, but if you've got that data and that knowledge in your head, so you don't even have to think about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Another fun one, a little different. This looks like natural light to me, but it must not be.
It is not. That sunset behind her in that window is actually the sun. Like it's really going down. And it was getting dark. We had just a regular softbox camera left. She wanted something that was kind of out of the norm and kind of bougie. And I'm like, what if we did this? And it was just a concept I kind of came up with. And
well, first of all, you're fortunate to have a pretty ice cream shop. Not easy.
it is a very pretty ice cream shop. It's not all of them are like that, but
No.
it's a local place. And
The
with
worst is the suburban strip mall ice cream shops, it's like, oh no,
yes,
this isn't.
yes. Well, and
Right.
I don't love like the little um pieces of paper that are hanging on the windows behind her,
Yeah.
but it's all part of the shop and it's all kind of part of the image. So
And it frames her a little bit.
yes.
So
Yes.
it guides the composition over to her. But I love the peachy pink tones of her dress that match the ice cream shop, and her skin tone is that peachy
Yes.
pink, and the sunset is the peachy pink. It's all really a wonderful, and even the ice cream. I don't
Yes, you did that on purpose.
Yeah, it all matches.
Yeah.
It's
And
also
there,
nice that ice cream wasn't melting too much for you either.
no, it wasn't. And you can see where she took a little bite, and then there's a little black dot, which I I thought about taking out, but it's actually a chocolate chip.
Okay.
So she just, I don't know. That's just what she wanted.
Yes.
And it worked. I mean,
It does.
sometimes it works.
And these are the type of things you're just so, I know I am just so proud of myself when I create something where everything comes together and
Yes.
just looks great.
I will say using off-camera flash does open up possibilities for you in the sense that like the light obviously was going down. We were losing it very quickly. And if I hadn't had a light, then I would have had to depend on the light that was in the restaurant.
It wouldn't have looked anything like this.
No. And so it really does open up locations.
Yeah.
Even if there's light outside, you don't want to face somebody if you're using natural light. You don't want to face somebody to somewhere that's dark.
And so even here where her dress is lighted up nicely, that could not work with natural light because you're going to get all this light coming from the windows.
Yes.
So this area would be really dark.
Yes.
So yeah.
Well, and you're going to get weird color casts, I bet.
Yes, you do.
From the artificial light. Yes, it's artificial light, but like the regular bulbs, I mean, it's not going to be pretty.
What do you use? Do you just use speed lights, or do you have a battery with an actual studio flash that you carry around?
I started with speed lights, and then I moved on to an Godox 8200, and now I have the Godox 8300, which is more powerful. I wanted to be able to get skies, and you have to have a really powerful flash in order to overpower those skies or to overpower that light in the background.
How do you power that light?
Oh, it's all battery.
Okay.
Yeah. So they back in the day when I first started using it, there was something called a Vagabond.
That's the Alien Bee or Pulse.
The Alien Bee battery. Yeah. I just found it in the studio when I was cleaning it up.
I'm sure it doesn't work.
I mean, I'm going to bring it in my house and use it to charge my phone if we lose power. So, but they have them all built in now. They're like just completely one unit.
Oh, I did not know that.
Battery like comes out just like a camera does. It's a little bit bigger, but it comes out and you charge it and then.
I had no idea.
Yep. It's come a long way for sure. And it used to not be that you could get full power, good power with lights.
Remember what a miracle it was when the Vagabond came out and you're like, oh my gosh, I have a battery, I can power a studio light on location.
But I remember trying to drag it around. It was so heavy.
Oh, yeah. And if you didn't charge it routinely like you were supposed to, it died.
Yep.
For good.
Yep. And I have actually bought multiple batteries so that I don't ever have that happen with these new lights.
So. Okay, this is the last one. And this is something I have never done. This is something that my clients don't ask for, probably because it's not what they see. If they don't see it, they don't want it. But here you've got a girl doing something really cool. She's being an anchor in a TV station. So you must have gotten permission to go do this.
I did. This was definitely something that you had to ask permission for. But I always encourage every one of my clients to tell their story. And this girl really wanted to get into broadcast journalism. They had actually just moved here, I think about 9 months before this was taken. She had lived up near Chicago. She was telling me about broadcast journalism, that she was taking a broadcast journalism class and all the things. And I have a friend that used to work at this news station. So I contacted them and I said, I've got this girl who wants to get into this line of work. And I said, she's a senior and I want to take her picture in there if that's possible. And they're like, absolutely. That's no big deal at all. Come in during this time. It had to be a specific time because of when they broadcast. Mm-hmm. So they said anytime between this time and this time would work. And they kind of gave us full reign. They gave us a little tour and they're like, okay, you can do whatever you want in here. And they left us. He says, I'll be in my office if you need us. And I thought, oh my gosh, I actually did not have to light this at all.
I thought so. Yeah.
That was the best part. Like you could walk wherever you wanted in this whole place and it was perfect lighting. But I mean, that's what they do. So
yeah. I like how you got the camera in there. So, and you can see the viewfinder or whatever
yeah.
Well, that's not the viewfinder. I guess that's a screen that is broadcasting that thing behind her.
Yes.
I don't know, but I like that part in there.
Well, I just wanted to know that like it's kind of behind the scenes. Yeah. I have another one where it's just her and not with the camera and stuff in the foreground, but I just wanted it to show that like this is kind of what she wants to do. And
so much places her in the scene rather than just a posing in front of a backdrop sort of situation. It must look like, without it. So
yes. And she thought I was the coolest person ever.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because I just mentioned it to her. I said, how would you like to go to one of the news stations and take pictures there? And she was like, are you kidding? And I was like, I mean, if you don't ask, the answer is always no.
Very cool. And she looks so broadcasty in her suit and her curls.
Doesn't she? I thought so too. I'm like, you just have this face for TV.
Yeah.
So
yeah, perfect. Yeah. Tricia, it has been super fun interviewing you and talking with you today and learning about your work.
I have had such a good time. I love talking about it. And sometimes it's nice not to have to talk shop and just talk about, everything. So
Right. Well, so fun. Thank you so much. And we're going to get you on and I would love to have a tour of your studio.
Okay. I will make sure that I get it all cleaned up and
get
it all ready for a tour.
Not in the busy season for sure.
Yes. So I'll get back with you on that for sure. I would love to.
Okay, great. Okay. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a great day. Bye.